Nice. I always love coming here and seeing my face up here. I'll tell you why. One, I'm a bit of a narcissist, so I like seeing my face. That's one. The other is that I have been in the audience of this event for 11 years. Oh, well, 10 years. I was here last year, right? And the last 10 years that I've been working with gaming studios. I spent about 12, 15 years in startups, building games, launching games in India, well before there was any legitimate gaming industry. Of course, we like to believe differently, but a lot of work has been done to bring the gaming industry in India to the level it is today. And a lot of that credit goes to communities and groups that put it together, like Imtiaz and team. IGDC has been, I think, the lifeblood of the community. And so we feel that it's an incredibly important moment that, well, everybody, all of us from the industry should show up and talk about what we believe is important. This year, I chose something slightly different because in the time that I spend working with game developers, publishers, whether it's indies, small 5-people studios or whether it's 200-people studios, we see a lot of common issues, right? So just to understand the context and who I'm talking to here, how many of you work for game studios or are running your own studio here? Game developers in the house. Hands up, hands up. All right, good. For the rest of you, how many of you would love to launch your own game? To be a developer yourself, to create amazing, lovely experiences? There we go, that's the dream, right? 30 years ago, it was the people wanted to be actors. Today, people want to be game developers. So let's talk about launching on Google Play. What are the best practices and how to go about getting your game out and ready, right? So typically, a cycle of putting a game out there is about developing it, releasing it, and then growing it. Simple enough. Again, context check. Are you guys aware of Android Vitals? If you're a mobile developer in here, are you aware of Android Vitals? All right. So the Android Vitals are basically the first quick check any developer should do, any mobile game developer should do. What it is 15 different metrics that we put together, right? And we make it in an easy sort of consumable form for you as a dev to understand what is it that you should pay attention to right now, right? So this is about the stability of your game. The crash rate, the ANRs, the wake locks, which is effectively impacts battery, and the excessive wake-ups. Why I'm talking about this is because this is the core basic of the experience that you're going to give your users, right? If your game is crashing, if your game is going to drain battery, we've basically taken success pretty much off the cards, right? You could have built the most lovely experience ever, and if it's crashing somebody's device, you're unlikely to be played again. So I just wanted to get this out of the way. Make sure that you go back home and you open your Google Play console if you're a developer and just check this out. It's super important. Why pay attention to it? Because number one, it really helps the most important thing. It helps enhance your store's visibility. If you get this wrong, not something that any platform wants to promote to users as the right experience, right? And the others, of course, bad reviews. You don't want people saying that, hey, this is, I gave this 1 star because it crashed, and never get the chance to see what your artistic talent is about, what your vision is about. So let's get this out of the way. Now, launching a game on Google Play. You're ready. You built the game, the best concept ever. It's all lined up. Your team is ready. This is your dream project. You're ready to launch, right? And the day before you launch, you're thinking, but what about all these elements? What about the crashes? What about the new installs? What about the updates? What happens if people don't like my game? What about the ratings, the reviews? All of these things are real-world things that impact how successful your game will be, right? And a lot of that leads to uninstalls, which is dreaded. Nobody wants that, right? So instead of having this big, awesome launch, what you have is, and we've all seen this, a collapse of a very promising title, right? And that can hit you and that can hurt you hard, right? All the effort, all the work, and if the launch doesn't go well, your team is demotivated. You're probably pissing off some investors, and you've probably lost a reasonable bit of money. So, given how serious this is, given how serious your launch is, You can do a few things to make sure that it goes well. Now, the rest of this presentation is a little boring. And the reason it's boring is, unfortunately, a lot of things in life are based on data. A lot of things are based on analytics. And that's the rigor and hard work and the discipline that you need to put into your team, not just yourself, but your team, so that they use the tools and the platform to essentially make small, incremental, impactful changes that will prevent this from happening. So launching well is what we're going to talk about. This is a statistic or a set of statistics that you should, when you look at one-star reviews, the ones that nobody likes, what you'll see is 42% of those guys mention stability or bugs, which means 42% of your worst reviews are because of stability, not necessarily because they don't like the game. What that also means is that you can make that almost go to zero. It's a fixable problem. On the other hand, on the flip side, the positive flip side, when leaving a 5-star review, 73% people mention speed, design, or usability. People find the game working great. It's a great experience. I had fun with it, not just the concept, but it was easy to get around. It was easy to understand. And of course, it didn't lag. The launch was quickly. I didn't have to wait too long for the level to load. All of that will impact is 73% of your positive ratings. Again, it's something you have control over. So let's quickly run through, in about 17 minutes, let's quickly run through what things that you can do to make sure this stuff is taken care of. The first thing, the pre-launch report. Even before you throw your game out there or put it in launch mode, you can actually get a lot of data from the pre-launch report. The pre-launch report is basically, it summarizes, a range of tests that we run for you across lots of different devices. One is stability testing. This is super, super important. Essentially, you take your game, you upload it to the alpha or beta track, and we run a crawler, which then will test the stability of your application or your game. And this is super critical because if there's a security problem, or if there's an issue which is massively damaging the experience, essentially the game crashes all the time, you will know about it well before the general public sees it, right? In fact, it will also take screenshots and grabs of your entire experience. This is more for apps, but it does work for some type of games really well, where you can look for consistency in design. And the tool will show you that. And you can find points that look odd and don't really fit from a narrative perspective. In fact, this is what we loved, is that 85% of cases where people found issues, they fixed those issues before sending the app to production, which means a lot of games and apps that you see today went through this process to make sure that you didn't see the problem. Of course, and major developers around the world loved it. I hope you guys can talk about it later. Essentially, you discover bad behavior before launch, and you get rid of it before it impacts your ratings. The other is device catalog. Do you guys know what this is? Anybody here use this as a tool? Some very enlightened developers. Thank you. You guys are brilliant. I can already say that. There's a catalog that you can access that allows you to filter devices by the device's hardware capability or in some software capabilities. So you can make a list of devices with, say, certain RAM level above, say 1 GB or 2 GB RAM above, devices that are, have the 810 Snapdragon SoC using some level of an APK version above that you want to check. And what that does is you can then target your game just to that set. You can exclude another set. So essentially what you do is when you launch your title, and this is a heavy game, right? It's going to cause issues with people on low-end phones, for example. You can exclude those devices. You can essentially focus on a set of users or a set of user devices to ensure, in the beginning at least, that the experience is relatively good. And then over time, you try to fix the problems for other devices. That what we tend to do is we try to launch a title and make sure that everybody in the universe can use it well. That's not very realistic. Your game will have certain requirements. And it's important to understand what those limits are, both in terms of what the game can run on well, and two is how many bugs and issues can you actually fix immediately? So limit the problems, limit the scope, and you can then fix things as they go along. Right? So this allows for RAM-based system targeting and avoids one-star reviews. That 42% of one-star reviews that came from slow performance, you can avoid a lot of them just by excluding certain devices. Yeah, and this is the release dashboard. This I find is very important. The release dashboard. Now, this is something everybody who's launched a game or app has seen. I'm sure you have. This is basically what your central focus should be when you've launched a game, right? At the time of launch, this set of metrics is what's telling you if things are going right, and if you figured out the hypothesis that you had, that I'm sorry, that people are going to like your game, people are going to play your game, how long they're going to play your game, how well it's going. This is what validates it. So not only does this tell you how things are going for your launch, right? And then the most important things for you to see is this actually running fine? Is my game actually running fine on people's devices? So not only can you see the crashes in actual numbers, but the crashes per 1,000, and you can then compare that with previous versions. So every time you push an update, the update stability and how well that's doing on users' devices can be compared to previous versions. So you can set a target version and try to say, hey, the best we did last time was this much. I made major changes. I want to make sure that we still beat that number. It also, and this is, again, super critical, it also lets you track and compare your app's reviews for your latest update. So if you've done a launch, you're pushing an update after the launch, and you want to know whether you fixed certain issues that users have pointed out in the past, or you've created new problems, this is what lets you know that's happening. And if you find that that green bar is a lot redder, then maybe it's time for you to stop. Better to stop and fix an issue than let it continue and come back to it later, because that will impact how people see your game and the chance of them trying it out again. Not only that, but the release dashboard lets you track install events and uninstall events and compare it with previous. So, did your update piss people off? Did they just start uninstalling it afterwards? Or do they normally just install and there's a certain rate of uninstalls? Should you panic? Should you not panic? A lot of that, hopefully don't panic ever, but a lot of that can be indicated by just these two charts. Again, uninstall events can be tracked based on different updates. As you can see, it tells you when people made changes. It also lets you know if the users who left, were they new installs or were they old users who updated your game? Now this is super, super important. If you have people leaving, are they because they're new users who didn't get the experience that they wanted? Or are they old users and you changed the fundamental experience so much that they didn't want to stay, right? When making a critical content upgrade, when adding new content, when changing some core mechanic, this is very indicative of what you want to do with your user base. Now I'm going to spend a minute talking about this because this relates to a question I get asked a lot. Very often, you'll have a game where you're getting, say, a certain set of loyal users coming in regularly, right? You have okay retention, you have okay monetization, but now what you want to do is you want to refresh the game. You want to do something different. You want to make your match 3 into a gardenscape, whatever. Right? You want to add a meta game, you want to change the reward system, but essentially you feel that people might be getting bored and you're not attracting new users, but you're stuck with a problem. Do you then change things so much that you piss off your old users? Or do you instead try to keep everybody happy, make the old users happy, give them a refreshed experience, and try to attract new users? Or just say, you know what, I'll get rid of the old guys and go for new guys. All of these are different decisions you will make. You will have a plan to execute that decision. And then, in order to track the impact of that, whether your changes made sense, whether that's a plan you want to continue doing, to validate whether your theory worked, essentially the one before this, uninstall events, and why these uninstall events happened, can be used really effectively if you set it up well, if you understand what you're tracking, right? So I would recommend that you spend some time thinking about this, because almost all of y'all hopefully will have a successful game that will one day go on so long that you'll not know what to do with it, right? And you'll be faced with this problem. And that's where you find it on the Play Store, just the release dashboard, on the console, sorry. And yeah, use it to quickly understand what's happening with your update or your launch. All right, and that's it for me. I'm finished 2 minutes before time. Thank you very much.
Great, guys. That's Sharan from Google for you guys. Google Play cover. He's around.
Thank you.
Might like to catch up. And thank you so much, man.